Now, the judge demands answers. Were tenants truly protected, or was it all just a cover-up behind the court's orders?
The units that are in litigation, or what are they?
They are the reports for all of the buildings that are before Judge Simpson right now. So not all the buildings on Arbor One, this is just the buildings that are part of this case.
Okay. And are you familiar with all of these records?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to ask that these be admitted as evidence and exhibit. I think it's probably B at this point. I realize that we haven't had a chance to go through the records, and counsel for plaintiff hasn't either, but
They haven't mailed to the property manager.
right. So they should have been in their possession at some point, right? And they are business records, Your Honor. Or SIP records.
Response.
Your Honor, I guess I'm a little confused as to the process today. Frankly, out of the show cause was pertaining to these cases before the court.
Correct.
And as of today, or as of last week, if not before that, every single one of the lieutenants that was the subject matter of this court has been relocated in one way or another. Everyone is either in the villas, has gone to a different complex, or is hoteled. There's not one single tenant that's left in a unit that is not up to snuff.
Yeah.
That being said,
Hold on. Stop. Stop. You're out if I hear it again. Go ahead, Mr. Freeman.
that being said, the work on those tenants' units has proceeded to conclusion. So even though they've been relocated, the property manager has redone those units, and they would be suitable for relocation, relocation if they were inspected at this point. So not only
What are you telling me that
what I'm telling you is, I'm sorry.
go on.
Well, what I'm saying is that Mr. Myers is talking about what his inspection in February of 25, and okay, there was work that needed to be done, but it's been done. And I think that as far as the show cause is concerned, Arbor One and Arbor One West they've showed up and done the work. And I don't know why we're rehashing what was going on in February, because we've relocated everybody and done work.
May I respond, Your Honor? The violations of the order are the order that was from February. So we're showing that there's a pattern of violating the court's orders. And as you heard a moment ago, the city's prepared to testify as to the current conditions as of April. So I believe that you will hear testimony, Your Honor, that they're not all in complete condition, to the extent that the court wants to consider that. We appreciate that many people have been relocated, but this is a show cause hearing about whether or not they've complied with the court's order.
Well, I guess, Mr. Friedman, the first thing I'd have to ask, because we ran into this problem at the last hearings, and have indeed all of the individuals been relocated? Because that was a problem where it was represented to the court that they had been relocated, and then we found out that they had not been relocated. Well, certain people had not been.
I could provide sworn testimony that they've been relocated.
That everybody okay. So then the question, go ahead.
I think, Your Honor, there's one tenant at least who does not have an active case, but was the subject of the court's order, who has not been relocated. So he was included in the court's most recent order. And I believe he will testify that he has not been relocated yet, just for the record.
He's not a part of this case.
I don't know how the court would like to treat that situation. It is unusual,
Well,
I admit, but he was part of the order.
Okay. Let me move past that just a moment. Then I guess the second point that Mr. Friedman is making is that the testimony I'm hearing or there seems to be a dispute, maybe, maybe not, that there were repairs to the subject and that all of these units are now, well, I don't know that one could say they're in compliance because there's no CO, but that the work was complete. That's what you're indicating to me, Mr.
Correct.
Ms. Masco, you're indicating that that's not, or are you?
Well, Your Honor, plaintiff has provided access to some of their records. And I looked at this yesterday, the most recent documents. I printed it off, so it wasn't something that they provided to me directly, but it was part of their records. And I believe it was updated in April. And there's a number of instances where people have been moved and it's marked as complete, but it doesn't look that the work was completed. I think maybe it's complete because no one's living there. So, I mean, I didn't
Well,
obviously.
I guess I don't know what that means. That they're marking it as complete because there's no longer anyone residing in the unit, or that the work was actually done, irrespective of whether or not there's somebody in the unit.
I believe, I don't know. I don't want to speak for them.
City inspectors testified that most repairs were unfinished, mold still spread through walls, and no final permits were ever approved. The so-called completed work was anything but.
Your Honor, certainly. But it looks to me that there's at least some instances where some of the work was done, but it's not 100% done.
All right.
I mean, I wasn't prepared to take testimony about that because no one's, we're talking about prior orders and whether they're violated and no one's living there, apparently.
Let me ask this. When was of the subject matter units, when was the last time they were inspected?
It depends on the building, but I believe April 8th was the last time, but we also have a record of permits that have been pulled, no building permit, and any of these units have been final, which means the work is not complete. There are some plumbing and mechanical.
There are, or there are not?
There are some plumbing, mechanical, building permits that have been final, but the overall building permits have to be final to actually.
Okay.
We're also having a
Greater than average, sir.
So, and for all of our inspections, we do it at a 5% rate on all inspections. This one's about a 9% rate.
Okay. So sometimes it feels like I'm going in a circle, but the last time that we were here, part of the reason that one lease was contemplated work had not been done was because the required permits for the work had not been pulled and or approved. So that the work, at least in theory, couldn't have been done. Is that what is happening at this point, Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, so I have for every one of these units, every permit that's been pulled on these units, whether or not it's issued or final.
So I guess, Mr. Friedman, if there's certain work that needs to be completed, and that in order to complete the work, one needs a permit to do, and the permit hasn't been pulled and completed, then how would I say that the work has been done?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I don't believe we're in a situation where the permits haven't been pulled that needed to be pulled for these particular jobs, for these particular tenants and these particular units. So I believe the permits have been pulled. They may not all have been finalized, but that doesn't mean the work wasn't done. We're kind of wordsmithing a little bit here this morning when he says that the work wasn't completed because the permit hasn't been final inspection. That doesn't mean the work wasn't done. But
Well, let's back up then and get away from sort of the wordsmithing. Have the permits, the last time that we were here, part of the issue was the permits had not been pulled.
well, today,
And
we pulled over 400 permits, vast majority of which have been final.
would that be about accurate?
Not according to the city.
Pardon?
Not according to the city record.
Yeah. 391.
Okay, well, that's about 400. I get that, but I get.
My record 274.
Pardon?
My record 274.
Okay. I always feel like I'm in Washington. We can't even agree on the facts. What would be, where are you getting your 391?
Property minute.
Pardon?
Property minute.
Okay. We can all at least agree that if the work that needs to be done would require a permit and the permit hasn't been pulled, whether or not it's final in terms of the final inspection, then the work, if the permit was not pulled, the work can't be deemed completed. We can all at least agree on that, right? So also to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, the 391 are permits that have been pulled through the city.
I don't believe they're all city. I think some of them are on the other side of the street.
Okay, that may be our discrepancy. So some of these permits were pulled for the villas in the township.
I believe so. And
Do we know okay, so the numbers may indeed agree if I take those out, right?
I don't agree, but
You don't agree with what?
no, I think there's more than 174 pulled for the city.
Okay, but there's a difference if I have 391 and 174, and if I have 174 and 180. And what I'm trying to get at is how many of those permits, in terms of the number that you've given me, have been pulled by or were pulled in the township as opposed to being pulled in the city?
I can't give you that answer off the top of my head. I can just tell you that they've gotten 120 COCs in the township in the last couple of months.
In the township.
In order to get, and that is how we were able to relocate as many people as we did into the villas. It's because those are all certified units.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm working on the Ipsy side of the road. And I'm trying to figure out how many permits were pulled of that.
Now, the judge demands answers. Were tenants truly protected, or was it all just a cover-up behind the court's orders?
Well, however you want to look at it, how many of the 391 are permits for the villas as opposed to how many of those are permits for Arbor 1 West?
And I don't have that number. I don't have it.
So let me ask this, Mr. Mayor. if I take your number of the 174, I think you said permits, if all of those permits were pulled, the work done, and then I realize they haven't been finalized, but if they were finalized, would that overall have satisfied the repairs that would have been needed to these units?
So I would put in there that the work that was in the court order was compliant.
Pardon?
I would put in my notes that the work that the court order would have been. But I have 13 units that no permits have been pulled of all of these, so, and probably about 4 more where it's just an electrical permit, which would require also building permits. And this is as of yesterday.
As of yesterday.
Yes.
So, Mr. Friedman, do you know anything about those 13 units that where there's no permits that have been pulled?
Other than the prospect that the work that needed to be done didn't need to be permitted, no. Not everything that had to be repaired or whatever has to.
No, but the question that I asked is, maybe I'll clarify it. Mr. Mayor, the 13 units that you talk about, the work that needed to be completed would require permits.
Yes.
And you're indicating to the court that those permits for those 13 units had not been pulled.
Correct. We go to those specifically on order and what we observed.
Yeah, hold on. We may do that. And you don't know anything about those, Mr. Freeman. You or your client don't.
I am not blissfully ignorant. I'm ignorant.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So those 13 units, as we talk about those 13 units, you don't know what which units those are, or do you?
I just know that everybody's been relocated.
I know after some effort, we've gotten at least to that point.
Your Honor, I actually think that's not correct. Well, maybe it is. I'm sorry. I'll retract that statement. I do know that at least one tenant that I spoke with this morning has continuing issues with her unit, and she's got a hotel through Wednesday. That may be extended today pursuant to the court's order. We'll see.
Well, I thought we took care of that issue regarding the hotel and the extension. I thought we took care of how that's to be handled at the last hearing we were at.
We addressed it, Your Honor.
All right. So the other. So of those units, is there a reason why the city hasn't done a final inspection on those units?
We've not been scheduled.
Okay, well, who would do the scheduling? Okay.
We can't we can't do an inspection until we are called out to do an inspection. And sometimes a lot of this work requires a rough inspection and a final inspection. We also have observed and we've asked the people pulling the permit, so they're actually not adequately stating the costs of the work being done, because building permits are based on the cost. And so in the vast majority of the cases, they're claiming the work to be done is $500 to $1,000. And the work is expanding and they're required to update their permit and they're not doing that. So some of these permits are getting suspended for not doing that.
But I mean, the reality is they're putting that cost on there so that they don't necessarily have to pay a whole lot of money.
Correct.
Right? I mean, okay. So on those units, it claimed that, why hasn't a final inspection been called for then?
On a number of units, Your Honor, we have asked them to come out and inspect. We have 2 buildings we believe are ready to be recertified, and the city has refused to do the final inspections. They're claiming that we have to pay a bunch of fines from basically $600 per unit, which comes to about
Or,
for condemnation, I guess. So they want about over $250,000 from us in order to come and reinspect.
for 2 buildings?
No, they won't reinspect, period, until we pay the $274,000 that they want.
That is,
Okay.
so the property manager has asked the city to reschedule an inspection schedule for June. We did reschedule an inspection in March. And when we went out there, none of the work was done, like majority of the work was not done. And so they were asking for us to come in especially to do an additional inspection and reschedule a bunch of other people's inspections. And we said, there has to be some good faith in doing that. As far as final inspections as it relates to building permits, we've never predicated any sort of fee payment outside of paying for your permits to come do the final inspections on these direct units. This was to do an entire building reinspection that is already scheduled for July 8th. And so they wanted us to push that up and reschedule other people's inspections. And so we said, at this point, until all of your permits are pulled for this building to get it done, there's no point in us rescheduling inspections that are going to fail.
We have 2 buildings that are ready to go to get people back in, get people rehoused. And they are ready, they should be ready for finals in the week to 2 weeks.
Which 2 buildings are those?
720 Green and 721 Clark.
720?